ってその仕事のやり方が完璧に決まった時っていうのは何かありましたか？
And as for the theme song for Sonic Adventure, the very first one, and then I'm talking about, and there was difficult time. I had a difficult time to make a theme song, and then I wrote one, and then the team denied it, and then another one, and a team denied it once again, and then I tried to make the perfect one, but it took a longer time than I expected, and then after 8 songs, I did throw them away, and then but the Open Your Heart finally came up just from midnight to 3 in the morning. That means that I spent just 3 hours to make that song. So after spending like 4 months, 3 months, 4 months, just 3 hours made my day.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's funny because I feel like sometimes that's the way that it is. Let me turn off this ringer over here. That you spend so much time on something and then you don't know what it's going to be. For me, I know that I had spent like how I approach things was different when I first started. Because I had started working on stage, doing all this stuff, and when I first started, I was used to working with raise your hand. You asked the question. So there you are. Okay, good. I was looking for you. I'm like, where did he go? I didn't know what to do. I was used to talking to a bunch of people in the room. I was used to people being around and sort of bouncing things off people that way. And then the first time that I got into the room and there was no one else, it's just you by yourself. You know, the directors and everyone there, but it's you with the character and sort of doing the voice in there, but you're not reacting to anything. In the beginning we had you had Japanese that you could react to, but it's a little different and you don't really understand everything that they're saying. So you wind up changing, for dubbing, I think for me, like you change how you work. Because normally you'll work, you work with the script, you figure out how you want to say everything, and then you kind of go from here. So from here, it was different for me because I realized, I'm seeing their faces, I'm seeing their expressions, and you get all this cool stuff that the animators have already done. So the puzzle, instead of changing for me to how to make the words into what was going on out there, how to give the character expression just through the words, it became, how do I change these words to match what the animator did? So I was trying to get the expression of the animation that already, it's kind of like reading faces, as opposed to just feeling your feelings and trying to sort that out. Now I was like, it's like when you look at somebody, you're trying to figure out what they're thinking. So it kind of changed how I approached it. So now I was looking at someone who already existed and trying to figure out how to make what I had feel what they're already doing. Does that make sense? So it became more physical than it was before for me. And I think that's why. It's like a weird kind of subtle thing, but for me it was like a big change from just reading something and then trying to make it something out, like how I would feel it, as opposed to how someone is already feeling and trying to make what I have match them. It's weird. Yes?
It's Halloween, so do either of you have any horror stories pertaining to your jobs? Any day at the office that just went horribly wrong that you could share with us?
I have some.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, you can share too.
Actually, I don't have any.
Mine are very simple. I once had two points. I once had directing someone also who came into the studio, to the booth, and tried to adjust the equipment and knocked over the entire television screen that we had, and like half of the gear and everything broke in the middle of the thing. It was just really horrible. And and I had to sit there and explain to them, like, he just touched it, like that happened. I also stabbed myself in the booth by accident with a pencil still. But we were working actually on Pokemon, and it was when I first started out. Pokemon is a dangerous show, you all don't know. But so you make notes in your script. So as I told you, I tend to have big mannerisms and like gesticulate, do things while I'm in the booth. So I would do that, and a lot of times without realizing it, I'm imitating what they did on the screen. So I had this pencil in my hand, I'm doing this, the booth was rather small, I apparently threw my hands out because I was articulating something, and I hit the wall, and the pencil went right into my hand. And it stayed there. So we took it out, and everything was fine. I probably had lead poisoning, made me crazy. But yeah, so that was it. Yeah, I would say that was the most dangerous. That's it. That was my horror stories. Nathan, yes.
So Jun, in some of the earlier Crush Movie songs and some of the earlier character themes, so like SE1 and SE2, you would also write the lyrics. But I guess since then, you haven't written any lyrics for any of the songs. I was wondering if at some point you may write more lyrics.
私が曲に歌詞つけたのも、千葉さんだと思いますけど、今でも、歌詞は直接つけてますか？
Okay, to your question, the songs I wrote the lyrics were just a couple, right? Sonic and Tails, and also the main theme of Sonic Adventure.
Yeah, I think there's a few of the racing Crush.
Oh yeah, the previous one. Yeah, and then originally I tried to do my job writing songs and also writing lyrics, but since I'm Japanese and then I'm not good at English well, so to do, I asked Johnny or I asked singer to do to write the lyrics for his with his word. So and that makes sense. So the last one I did was late 90s, right? Yeah, I think so. So I didn't do last 15 years or so. That's my answer.
Question, what is your favorite Sonic song?
一番好きなソニックが誰ですか？
So that means the Sonic related songs or
Like any of the game songs that you've done?
I've done.
Yeah, like you played.
Okay, I say What I Made Of from Sonic Heroes, and also my favorite one is also the Night with the Wind too.
Yes!
Okay, so next.
From you, the orange ball.
Do you have a favorite Sonic character?
Shadow. Since I grew up with Sonic, and then since I played Blue Hedgehog original 1 and 2 before joining Sega, and that means that Blue Hedgehog is one of my influences, you know. But talking about the Shadow, I was the more original member, core member, to make his hardware, you know. And then also the black and red, the combination of the colors is my favorite. That's the reason why. Mhm.
You had a question over here?
Yeah. What instruments can you guys play?
演奏できる楽器は何を
I do is piano, keyboards, and also bass, guitars. Maybe that's all. Do you have any?
I can sing and play trombone, that's it.
I have a question for June. Right before Sonic Adventure was unveiled, an early version of Open Your Heart, which I think you had sang vocals on, was uploaded to Sonic Team's old homepage. And aside from an early version of Big's theme that I think was on the Best of Sonic Adventure on track 2, True Colors, there really hasn't been a lot of like early demo versions or early arrangements of the Sonic music that you've been involved in. Has there ever been talks or to like maybe put that out, maybe not necessarily on a CD or digitally, some of the just demos or
Those kind of
yeah, like
unfinished.
just the way things came along. 'Cause I know because the Open Your Heart when that came out, that was
Since
really interesting just the way that.
talking about Open Your Heart, we had to do that.
Okay.
Since before we had a big launch party at in Tokyo with at the 6,000 seater theater.
Right.
Yeah, and then we had to promote the song prior to the show. So that means we decided to put the song on the internet. And otherwise, that's the way I don't want to do that. To put the, yeah, those kind of demos, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So my answer is no happen. And
We'll go here. Oh,
Yeah.
you already had a question, so
both.
we both had a question, and you had a question. Did you ask your question before?
Yeah, that's one question.
Okay, so anybody who hasn't asked a question, Okay, so take you first, and then we'll take you after.
Are there any musicians you've worked with in your time at Sonic Team that you personally respect?
そのチームで、作業したミュージシャンの人で、個人的に尊敬する人はどういう人なんですか？
Not with the musicians, but he's a producer and then called Atsushi Sushi Kosugi. He was a sound producer, sound director for the game called. He was behind the Knights and also the Burning Rangers, and also he helped us a lot for Sonic Adventure games too. And actually, he produced everything about the songs behind the Rouge or the theme of Amy or the one for Big. And so he is in New York, and then he is a producer for the musical industry. And then he gave us a lot for the Sonic music and the Sonic related music, including Knights and Burning Rangers. And without him, we still work with, we mean the singer, still work with his team for Mario and Sonic games. And yeah, he is a lot for us.
Did you still have your question? Yes.
This is for both of you. Who were your inspirations for your line of work this year?
As musically, I was into very 80s music when I was a kid. So, not particular, lots of music from those era. Yeah, that is my answer.
And kind of in the same boat. That's why I'm dressed. I grew up on, the 80s and 90s Saturday morning cartoons and all the other stuff that happened there. There were people also, like when The Simpsons first came out, who had done voices and things like that. But I didn't, when I was younger, I didn't make a distinction between those things, and sometimes I didn't know who the actors were. We'd start off. I grew up watching some anime like Star Blazers and things like that, and like in G-Force and all this stuff. But mostly it was whatever I watched. I watched like Gem. I watched She-Ra and all of these things. I watched the Transformers over and over again in G.I. Joe, and it was more I would say the shows, watching them and like characters that I loved. So I used to try and imitate them and watch like the Disney stuff and do that. And then eventually, like I remember, and I should have figured this out faster, that Starscream and Cobra Commander were the same person. It took a while for me. And I was like, they're both so great. Then that started a whole bad segue into dating, so that's another problem. I'm attracted to that. But it was mostly the shows, and I think it was that period of time in the 80s and 90s and stuff like that, everything that was coming out of there. But there are so many, there's a lot of talented people, but yeah, but the voice actors for Bart and for like a lot of others, they really had an effect on me. But yeah, I would just mimic the TV. Yes.
Have you guys had any terrible, creepy experiences with people?
In general? Yes, there have been plenty of creepy people. Some of them are here. No,
Vic Magona.
I would say most people here have been fine, but yes, there's some weird people in the world. I will say that. So I live in New York City and I take the subway a lot, so I get creepy. You creepy or maybe, or are we going like creepy, like people weirded us out and freaked us out, or like ghost story creepy? Because you could be creepy people too, who are like haunted or something. I think I would have to think specific. I try to block those things out. Do you? Yes.
I wanted to kind of follow up on David's question, June. I have a question for June and you, Lisa. But June's question is, so you said you don't like these demos to be released, but I think it's Sonic Mega Collection Plus, they show an in-progress kind of animatic of the Sonic Heroes intro. And there's a demo of Sonic Heroes.
Yeah.
Where it's just Johnny, I love it. That was amazing. So it's just kind of Johnny just scatting along. And it's fantastic. I love that. It's just, so it's like, were you made aware of that? And did you, or just like, why did you guys put that in?
And actually we had lots of battles with the team to add that music on that. And I just gave only one approval. That was that.
So how, in your mind, did you feel that either Amy as a character or how you portrayed her changed when you started with Sonic X? So I guess Sonic and the Black Knight would have been the long. Or in that game, you're not technically playing Amy Rose.
Yeah, she's a little different. Yeah, and there. You know, it's funny. I was talking about this earlier. It took me because she had already existed, you know, and she's very specific, and she's got a little bit of a one-track mind at times. She broadens out. She's a good little hedgehog there. But it took me a while to find her, to like find my center with her. And we used to come in. I was working with. Andy Reynolds was our director at the time, so you know him from some other, he's been on Girls and done a whole bunch of other shows since then. But he would come in, and I just would have a hard time trying to like find her in the beginning to figure out because she's so cute, she's here, she's sweet, and yet she's kind of insane. But you don't want her to be like annoying, but she's because you want to keep her nice and yeah, so it took a little bit, but I think like anything else that you work on, you start off in the beginning, you find her more as you go along. So by the time we were at the end, I had a good place for her, so I feel like it was just easier to find. Yeah. Cool.
Sorry to interrupt. We started late, but we probably still have to end on the hour, and we have 10 minutes left, so say last three.
You.
Okay. I was wondering how each of you got into your careers.
How did we get into the career?
Oh.
Let me tell you, my brother stole my car, so that's how I got in. I was a theater major. I'll tell you the short version of the story. I was a theater major, and I got mono, and I got to stay home. And my brother, so I had my car. Car didn't work properly, and he was told to never touch it. And then he took it and left it at a friend's place. So I woke up very angry. And he told me that he's left it at George's house and then stopped talking to me. So I had to track this car down. And during the course of tracking the car down, I bumped into a friend of mine who was interning at Central Park Media at the time, and they were looking for actors. So he brought me in to audition, and I auditioned for a role from there. And from that point, I got the role of Dita in Lotus War. I found out 6 years later, yeah. So, and then I started working from there. But I had already studied, and I was performing, and I was an actor. But that specifically, my brother stole my car.
And for me, actually I was into music, late 80s, 90s. And then in 1992, I tried very hard to be a musician with my band. But in 1992, my band was disbanded. And then one of my friends told me to send some demo to the video game company. And then Sega was the first choice since I played a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog games last 2 years or something. So I sent my demo, but not for the video game, just the music filled with my band. And then I sent like a couple of music to Sega, and then I was invited to some interviews, and then I'm still here.
Another question?
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So, June, I'm sure we're all wondering, but I'll say it in the nicest way possible. Is Johnny okay? Since he couldn't be here, I just want to know, is he sick? Did he hurt his voice last night at the concert?
Oh,
I just want to
no.
know if he's okay.
No, actually, he's okay. But in fact, originally we don't have any plan to attend to Q&A session and also this kind of panel stuff. And then actually we didn't know anything think about Q&A and then this session until today, until yesterday. So it was a surprise to me too about that. And then Johnny booked his flight for early in the morning today, and then the convention approved for his travel over a month ago. So that's the reason why Johnny is not here. So he's okay.
Well, thank you for coming.
Oh, yes.
We had time for maybe one more, right? That's what time is it?
So 6:56.
Okay.
Question for you, do you attend conventions like this in this capacity in Japan, and how does that experience differ compared to this?
Actually, we means casually, Johnny and I do several things for Sonic events, including Sonic Boom or Summer with Sonic, and then that is the events are filled with Sonic fans like you, and this kind of huge convention is pretty new to me, and just only one experience. We visited Mexico last year, and then that was huge. And then this is the very first time to attend to this kind of mixed convention in the States. So I was pretty surprised how big and how busy the convention is, and then I'm pretty surprised totally.
Thank you guys so much, and thank you for coming out. It's good, and have an amazing Halloween in Youmacon.
Yeah.